thought I would talk today about a pressing issue that's been on my mind, and I'm one of the fortunate people to be off of medication to a point where it's somewhat successful. I'm still regularly on psychiatric medication, but I thought, the fact that I'm able to speak on these subjects coherently and offer some peace of mind to those that might be interested about what really some of the scandalous things that are happening in mental health, how pharmaceuticals are really, they've basically given up on treating mental health, and I don't have the full, I don't know where their company directions are, but the drugs that they're putting out, they're basically not improving with each generation. But basically I just wanted to talk about, I guess a few things, is that the psychiatric industry right now is pretty much, it's basically the breadwinner for pharmaceutical companies. So basically what I mean is you have psychiatrists, you have psychologists, you have counselors, you have research, all skewed, pointing to the profit of pharmaceuticals. And I think most people know that, but it's the bigger issue behind it is that not only are you forcing pretty much a lot of the mentally ill people, the less fortunate people, and you could talk about people that are incarcerated, you could talk about people that, in my instance, were mugged or just had head trauma, things like that. Even not too long ago in the news, there was a baseball game where a little girl was struck with a fastball. I think it was like 200 mile fastball, and she received a lot, just major head trauma. And you're bound to have some psych or some sort of neurological disorder stem from a lot of the diseases that, a lot of it, it's just so dumb. It's like, the food we eat now is worse than ever. The working conditions, we are one of the laziest countries in terms of where America is. But basically, I just wanted to point at the pharmaceutical industry, and especially at the doctors who Harvard, even I've read online, and I know this is not the most credible source, but it's a source that about Harvard doctors that just prescribe like medications on top. It's called polypharmacy, where they just prescribe medication on top of medication. It's just ridiculous. But to the viewers out there, basically, if you're taking a drug right now, I would encourage you. You gotta find the best fit. That's what the best psychiatric units and hospitals and outpatient programs are trying to do, is they're trying to adjust you to the best fit in terms of medication. But for me, I always just say olanzapine, Invega, those were just big no-nos. Like Invega Sustenna, I really wanted to use this video to talk about Invega Sustenna, which they pretty much, Janssen Pharmaceuticals, and I know it seems like me rambling, but this is all information that I've accumulated. Janssen Pharmaceuticals, it's the subunit of Johnson & Johnson. Basically, they've created this injection, and they marketed toward, they select three, they handpick three, I don't know if it's actors, I don't know if it's just people that have had success with this drug, but from the majority of what you see is that these drugs always treat the symptoms. It's a pharmaceutical philosophy. They always treat the symptoms while they leave the individual just completely in pieces. Like there's no hope for recovery. And even I've been in the court before because I gave up on pharmaceuticals completely and I was off medications, and that took my health south. But I was in court where the judges would say this, and the doctors would say this disease is very treatable, schizophrenia. And it's the reality of it. It's not. They're not trying to even treat it. They're just trying to sell it to court. They're trying to sell it online. It's all marketing. They're just literally everything is pointing to the drug. As long as it sells, as long as it gets shelves out. Even if I like for the Invega Sustenna injection, my family's paying like $120 a month just for that injection, which is by no means cheap, but without insurance, you're looking at upwards of $10,000. It's some crazy $10,000. I don't know. But Invega Sustenna, I will tell you, is probably one of the worst drugs I've been on. At first, it was non-invasive, but the longer I was on it, the more the drug built up in my system or whatever happened. It just was killing me, and I was literally. I felt like so. It's like imagine putting somebody. This is what you do when you put somebody on Invega Sustenna. Imagine you taking somebody, putting them into a ditch, like a well, throwing them down a well, and then this is gonna sound kind of funny, but you put a bunch of pillows, and it's comfy and all that, you know, but literally you almost suffocate them with the amount of muffledness the drug gives. And Invega Sustenna, olanzapine, that's just like, I don't even know where to start on olanzapine. The crazy doctor that prescribed it. And I've been lucky because my psychiatrists I've seen here have not overprescribed. Like they've given at most 2 drugs at a time. I know some, maybe if your insurance isn't as good, some doctors are crazier and they put out 4, 5, 6 drugs. But oh man, I think lurasidone, that's a good direction for bipolar from what I've read about, and for schizophrenia it's not as, the efficacy in terms of managing symptoms isn't as good, but in terms of the drug overall, I think it's helping lives improve a little bit. What else? Diet, exercise. I mean, there's the whole metabolic syndrome thing. Like, basically, if you take Invega or if you take paliperidone or olanzapine, one of the weight gaining drugs, and you gain weight, they give you a form at the nurse's office when you come in for the injection or when you go in for the doctor's visit, and they say these drugs might cause weight gain. Like you might be at risk for high blood pressure, diabetes, all sorts of like terrible diseases. Even if I've been healthy my whole life, and this drug, I went from 145 to 168, which is not bad, but in terms of a volume percentage increase, that's like crazy. And sometimes it feels like my heart is just, it's like blocked up. That's literally what it feels like. Sex drive is gone on Invega. Olanzapine, you're sleeping at least 14 hours a day when you start on the drug. Latuda is just, I think it's pretty much a good drug. It's just, there's some mood disorders that it can give. Not mood disorders, but it can cause some things. But basically, I've covered Janssen Pharmaceuticals and Invega Sustenna. I would really highly discourage that drug. Go to drugs.com. I think it's probably the best source in terms of objective accuracy. Latuda is up there. Clozapine is up there, but clozapine is like you're at risk of dying pretty much if you take that drug. And some people might ask, like, Tim, like, how do you cope through all this stuff? Like, I'm a tank. I can tank through this. I mean, maybe it's by God's grace that I've been able to overcome, but it doesn't feel that way to me. It just feels like I've been able to handle a lot of this. But yeah, basically, I mean, pharmaceuticals, they've done such a terrible job of trying to treat mentally ill people, and they're putting the drug profit, but even if you put the profit of the drug over anything else, like, illness is increasing in America. That's something for sure. Like, we're getting better at treating them, but we're also, like, cancer is at an all-time high. Like, I can't tell you how many people I've heard that have contracted cancer. But if there's anything to do about it, I mean, just spread awareness. Don't take some of these drugs if you're not sure. Just because your doctor or psychiatrist says, like, oh, this is a good drug. Like, that's what my doctor at Rush said about olanzapine, and it turned out to be one of the worst drugs I was on. So, yeah, this is just kind of a rant, and I won't even go into counseling. I think counseling is a complete BS waste of time. I think the training module, the regiment for how we train counselors in America is absolute BS. Because you're taught all these psychology concepts, but it's just like you're CBT, DBT, like, there's so many ways to approach it, but just like, you gotta just be there for somebody, pretty much. Like, if you're not there, like, if you're trying to use these techniques, I don't know, like, some of these techniques is just like brainwashing people, like, but I saw this resident psychiatrist. She was giving a presentation, and she said, the drugs and counseling together will help recovery. But that's totally not true. Like, there's no way to prove it. It's like, insurance pays counselors, sure, that's profit for them. Insurance pays the doctors, and then, you know, if you're in good coverage, you get the drug at an affordable price. But oh my gosh, like, just literally, it's so easy to brainwash people, and it's so easy to convince people that everything is a chemical imbalance. I do agree, I do think there's validity to that statement, but there's just so much going on inside of a person's mind, and I would say for me, why was it not a blood issue? Why was it not bleeding, like internal bleeding? Like, I suffered a concussion because I was bludgeoned in the face, and, you know, why does it have to be chemical? Like, it makes no sense. Why does it have to be chemical? Like, just a lot of stuff. But I don't know. I'm trailing off a bit, but takeaways are avoid Invega Sustenna, even though it's an injection. Even though you're going to be compliant, I would rather you be on something that's less weight gainy and that makes you feel happier overall. Like, just the drug reviews that I read that are like, this drug changed my life, and like blah 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 blah. I'm like, it's probably either fake, probably paid, or either the people that are in marketing at Janssen Pharmaceuticals. Oh my god. But my treatment plan going forward, I think Latuda is a good option. I had a good year on Latuda. Granted, there were some side effects. What else? I don't think counseling is going to be as good as a support system. I think counseling's useless, in fact. Like, I just don't believe in counseling working at all. And yeah, I mean, I know psych nurses, I know psych PAs. I'm not saying their job doesn't exist. Like, there is something to do if you have this mentally ill person running the streets. And I don't want to stereotype, I don't want to put it in that negative light, but there has to be some sort of management. But it's just ridiculous, like, they treat patients like pigs. And I think there's a level of care that's given, but I don't know. this has been my rant about the psychiatric industry, pharmaceutical industry. Obviously, I'm not gonna say like or subscribe because I don't really have a channel that's budding at the moment. But yeah, basically, I thought that's what I would cover. Overall, for me, I think I'm doing okay. I got a church that I'm a part of. My family's looking out for me. We're in good financial shape. And I'm trying to make this music thing happen. My brain is just wired with music and everything in that category. But alright, I'm going to cut this off. Thank you.